Hello, this is Raven from Winter X Raven giving you my Frightdoll deck. Now stay tuned to understand what it means to have a Frightdoll deck. Now, this is a very complicated deck, maybe a little bit. Anyway, it runs pretty good. It's mainly focused about OTK, which is very fun and, very exciting. Now I'm sure you want to know what the Frightdoll means. Yes. Okay, let's begin. Alright, first up for our Frightdoll deck is the monster Fluffal Wings. Now, what this card does is whenever you have a toy vendor on the field face up while this card is in the graveyard, you can banish this card from the graveyard to target one Fluffal monster in your graveyard, banish it, and then you draw a card. And also, if you want a little bit more of a draw power, you can also destroy the toy vendor, gaining its effect and allowing you to draw one more card. Next up is the Rabbit. Whenever this card is used for fusion material for a fusion summon, you can add any Fluffal monster from your graveyard except Fluffal Rabbit to your hand, and also if you don't have any Fluffals, you can add Imp Sabres. Pretty handy if you want to pull off a couple of combos. And next up is the Cat. This one's pretty good. Just like the Rabbit, whenever you fusion summon using this card, you can add a Polymerization to your hand from your graveyard. So that is really awesome. You can fusion summon it, and then you get your Polymerization back. You can fusion summon again, and by perhaps you have another Cat, you can also add another Polymerization back to your hand and combo for days. Nice. Here we have the Owl. It's mainly used for fusion summoning. In one way, whenever it's normal summon, you add a Polymerization to your hand from the deck. And on the other hand, if you don't want to use that Polymerization, you want to save it, you can pay 500 to fusion summon any Frightfur monster using cards that you control or from the hand. But you do have to pay 500, so kinda iffy. And here's Fluffal Bear. What this card does is you can send it from the hand to the graveyard to put down a toy vendor, which is really good if you want to use Fluffal Wings effect. And also you can tribute this card to add a Polymerization from your graveyard to your hand. So kind of like what the Cat does, but you lose a monster. Here we have Fluffal Sheep. He's pretty good to combo with the dog, which I will be getting to its effect in a moment. Whenever you have a Fluffal monster, you can special summon this card, send a Fluffal monster you control besides Fluffal Sheep back to your hand to special summon an Imp monster from your graveyard or hand. So it's pretty good like that. If you have a Imp that you really need for fusion summon that is in the graveyard, you can use its effect, bring it to the field, and then use Polymerization or another fusion card if you have it. And now the Dog. Dog is super duper cool. Like I said, I'll get to the combo with the Sheep, but first its effect. Whenever this card is normal or special summon from the hand, you can add one Imp Sabres or Fluffal monster from your deck to your hand, except Fluffal Dog. It's really cool. You can bring that out, bring out Sabres, bring out the Sheep, pop the Dog back to your hand to special summon Sabres, or if you have another Imp in your graveyard, bring that to the field. And then next turn, whenever you normal summon it, you get its effect again. And this time you can bring out another Sheep from your deck to your hand, and then use that Sheep's effect. It's just a really good combo engine, and that's why I run it. Now, for the Imps. I ran 3 Imp Saws, because whenever you normal summon, you can discard a Fluffal monster from your hand to the graveyard to draw 2, and then you put one card from your hand either on the top or bottom of your deck. It's pretty good to run with Toy Vendor, but also I just really love drawing cards, and that kind of helps out a lot. Imp Chain. I don't really use him too much, but his effect is whenever you attack, you add an edge Imp Chain from your deck to your hand, which, since I run one, I don't use. But whenever it's sent to the graveyard, you can add any Frightfur card from your deck to your hand. So it's pretty good to bring out like Frightfur Fusion, and then you can just fusion summon by banishing from the graveyard. Last, we have Edge Imp Sabres. Super duper cool card. He's used a lot for my way of fusion summoning, mainly for the wolf, hardly ever the bear. And what it does is, basically, once per turn while this card is in the graveyard, put one card on the top of your deck from your hand to special summon it. That's about all it does, but it helps puts in a combo for the toy vendor, and it also lets you fusion summon if you don't have any other edge imps. Alright. That does it for the Fluffal side. Now let's get on to the next side. Now, just so you know, you will probably never see a Frightdoll deck quite like mine. Here we have Odd-Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Does it make sense? I'll get to it in just a moment. Basically, everybody knows its effect, or at least I hope you do. It's mainly for Pendulum decks, but I found a way to make it into a Frightdoll deck. And what its regular effect does is, if this card battles an opponent monster, any battle damage this card inflicts the opponent is doubled. And with the Pendulum effect, basically you can reduce any battle damage you take involving a Pendulum monster you control to 0, and during the end phase you can destroy this card to add one Pendulum monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. Now, the Pendulum effect during the end phase destroying it, that does help because you do run one more Pendulum monster in this deck, and it does have 1500 or less. In fact, it has 100. Performapal Trump Witch. You can activate it, and then if you have the cards you need for a fusion summon on your side of the field, tribute down and automatically bring out your fusion monster. Another cool part about it is you can normal summon it, tribute it, and then add a Polymerization to your hand. So it's really good either or ways, because as you saw, I do have cards to let me fusion summon with cards I only have on the field, and if I need a Polymerization, I can bring it out, tribute it, and basically get a Polymerization. Now, to the last side of the Frightdoll deck. Our next monster is Shaddoll Dragon. Pretty universal, but I might as well tell you right now. My Frightdoll deck is a Frightfur deck mixed in with a Shaddoll deck. Don't hate it, just do it. Just like really do it. Like really do it. What you can do is you can put this card face down. Whenever it's flipped, you return one monster from the field back to the hand. And the other effect, which is what you would probably be using mostly for, is whenever it's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can destroy a spell or trap card on the field. Put that in here because it does have a lot of monsters, and this way whenever you fusion summon, you can start getting rid of the back row. Now of course in every Shaddoll deck or variant, you run Falco. Whenever this card is flip summon, you can special summon any Shaddoll monster from your graveyard face down defense. And whenever it's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon this card face down defense. Basically, that sets you up for a special summon with a Shaddoll from your graveyard. And now, Shaddoll Beast, the final monster for this deck. What you do is, whenever it's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you automatically draw one card. But if it is flip summon, you draw two, and then you discard one. Now the reason I have it in here is because, like I said, it is a Shaddoll variant along with a Frightfur variant. And just because I love drawing, and with the discarding, along with Toy Vendor and I believe one other card in this deck, it's really awesome to get the Shaddoll effects and just keep going for days. Now, let's get to the spells. Now, our first spell is Toy Vendor, because we do have Fluffal Wings, so we require Toy Vendor for its effect. Along with that being said, you can discard a card, which with the Shaddolls is a win, and then draw a card. If it's a Fluffal, you reveal it and special summon it, which is also another win. And then even if it's not, you discard it, which is another win if it's a Shaddoll. Now you can see how this deck runs together. And also, whenever it's destroyed, you can bring one Fluffal monster or Imp Sabres from your deck to your hand. So, win, and if you're lucky enough, another win. Or maybe just win for the 2 Dark Holes, just in case those monsters you don't want. You destroy all monsters on the field is what it does. You can do that twice. Allure of Darkness, just because of draw power. You draw 2 cards and then you banish 1 dark monster, which with the Frightdolls is almost every monster. So you don't have to ever worry basically about not having a dark monster. Now, we have 3 Polymerizations. I say 3 because Fusion Substitute is always treated as Polymerization. Now, Polymerization is just a spell card to let you fusion summon using materials that you have from your hand or your side of the field. Fusion Substitute basically does the same thing, but if it's in the graveyard along with the Fusion monster that is also in the graveyard, can banish Fusion Substitute to return that Fusion monster back to the extra deck and draw a card. So a lot of draw power in this deck if you haven't noticed, but also a lot of Fusion summoning, which means we have more Fusion cards. Like Frightfur Fusion, you banish Fusion material monsters from your side of the field or from your graveyard to Fusion summon a Frightfur monster. So that's always really cool. Can easily Fusion summon with regular Polymerization, and then use Frightfur Fusion to bring out the same monster or a better one. Dark Fusion. This can only be used for the Fusion summon of a Fiend type monster, which the Frightfurs are. Basically like Polymerization, but a little bit better, because if you do use this correctly and bring out a Fiend monster, which is what it requires, it is unaffected, so it cannot be targeted by the effects of other monsters, spells, or traps the turn that it is Fusion summoned. So you don't really have to worry about that much, like Magic Cylinder or even Man-Eater Bug if people still run that. And of course, Shaddoll Fusion. You can Fusion summon a Shaddoll monster only, so kind of like Frightfur Fusion or Dark Fusion, one being Fiends, the other one Frightfur. This one is only Shaddolls. Now if your opponent controls a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, you can use monsters from your deck to Fusion summon with. So that's really good, like throw away a dragon or maybe a beast and a Falco, and you get the effects. Now, let's get on to our traps. Okay guys, the Frightdoll deck is a very trap heavy deck, so let me just go ahead and show you how many and which traps you use in this deck. Here you go. Chain Burst. Just in case you don't OTK, this card inflicts 1000 points of damage to each player who activates a trap card. This is your only trap card, so you don't have to worry about that. Your opponent, however, yeah. So, that's always fun. And that's all for the traps. Alright, now for the extra deck. Let's start off with Frightfur Sheep, really fun card. It's awesome because whenever this card declares an attack, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. So that's really cool. You don't have to worry too much about Mirror Force. And then whenever it's destroyed by your opponent, either by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card, and then if you do, it gains 800 attack. And you can do that once per turn. So you can bring it out, let them destroy it, bring it out, it gains 800, and they destroy it, bring it back out again, it has another 800. And yeah, you can just keep bringing out a 2800 monster that, whenever it attacks, cannot be you can't activate anything, so it's really cool. Now, Winda, Shaddoll Winda. It can only be fusion summoned for a special summon, cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects, which is really cool. Each player can only special summon monsters once per turn while this card is face up on the field. So do make sure you have your monsters that you need on the field before bringing out this card. Don't make the same mistake that I did once. And then whenever this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one Shaddoll spell trap card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So Shaddoll Fusion. Yeah, add that to your hand. Oh yeah, I did forget to mention one thing. 2,200 attack. Really not bad. I think I would use it every chance I got. Now for your main beater. Frightfur Wolf. Now it requires Imp Sabres and one or more Fluffal monsters. Now, one or more. Can't imagine what the effect could be. Now, this card can attack a number of times each battle phase, so not just monsters, but each battle phase, up to the number of fusion materials used for its fusion summon. So if you're already in depth with the game, it's been like 10 turns, your opponent finally lost his last bit about back row, and you happen to have maybe at least 4 Fluffal monsters and Imp Sabres. Use Frightfur Fusion, bring out this card. If you use all 5 materials, it can attack 5 times. So even if they have 1 monster, that's already 8,000 of direct damage unless they can do something. And that's how you OTK. Now the Frightfur Bear. Requires Fluffal Bear and Imp Sabres. Whenever it destroys a monster by battle, you can equip it to this card, and it gains 1,000 attack. Now, that is an awesome effect, because it does stack. You can destroy one monster, equip it, destroy another one, equip it, keep doing that, but it's kind of risky, because it's a bear, and you know, bears are kind of mean. So, it's real questionable about it. Personally, I hardly ever bring this card out. I'm more focused about Winda and the wolf, because they're fun. Here we have Leo, a lion. Always good to have a pet lion somewhere. Now, it requires Imp Saw and a Fluffal monster. Now, what it does is, whenever it's on the field, once per turn, you can destroy a face-up monster your opponent controls, and then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. Another cool little thing about it is, it cannot attack your opponent life points directly. But, if you already have Wolf and they happen to have another monster on the field, you can use this card to take care of the other monster, and then let your Wolf attack your opponent directly. So, that's really cool. 2,400. Real nice. Frightfur Chimera. This one requires 3 Frightfur monsters, and it's pretty good, but I don't bring it out too much. Like I said, I'm more focused about the wolf, about OTK. But even if you do bring it out, it's pretty cool because whenever this card attacks, the opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. And then whenever it does destroy an opponent's monster, you special summon it to your side of the field. Its attack is half, but this monster gains 300 attack for every monster that you controlled that was once owned by your opponent. So basically, any monster you take, this card gains 300. So that's already 2,800 to start with. Bring out one, it becomes 3,100, then 34, 37, 4,000, and then your opponent cannot activate anything while it attacks. That is really cool. And now about the Odd-Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Here we have Rune-Eyes Pendulum Dragon, because the Frightdolls are already a fusion deck of all about OTKing. Why not add a 3,000 monster that can attack twice and even 3 times? Here we have Rune-Eyes Pendulum Dragon to help out the wolf if it ever needs any help. Now it requires Odd-Eyes, Pendulum, Dragon, of course, along with a Spellcaster. But if you use a Spellcaster that is level 4 or lower, so basically anything except Shaddoll Beast in this deck, it can attack 2 times during each battle phase. But if you use Shaddoll Beast along with Odd-Eyes, Pendulum Dragon, it can attack 3 times. If you use that Performapal Trump Witch card, it attacks twice, but since it is a Pendulum monster, it is unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of the turn that it was summoned. So that's already really cool. You can use the Witch, 3000 attack, attacks twice, and is unaffected by your opponent's card effects, so it's already 6000 if they don't have a monster. If they do and it's face up, you bring out Leo, destroy it, and then 6000 directly. If you have Wolf on the field, then that's probably already game right there. And now for last fusion monster. Shaddoll Shekhinaga. 2600 attack, 3000 defense. It is kinda a defender along the fusion monsters in this deck, just in case you're having a hard time. You can bring it out in defense, have a 3000 wall, or 2600 to assist in your OTK. Now, it requires a Earth monster, which is every Fluffal monster. The Leo, the Cat, the Rabbit, all Earth. So you can easily bring that out as long as you have another Shaddoll monster. Now, excuse me. When a special summon monster activates the effect while you can have a Shaddoll monster in your hand, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that monster, then send 1 Shaddoll card from your hand to the graveyard. So that's really cool. You can destroy a lot of cards, like even Castell. You can let them special summon it whenever they try using the effect. You send, let's say, Falco or Beast. You send them to the graveyard, destroy that monster, and then you get to use the effects whenever they're sent to the graveyard by a card effect. It's a win-win, and like most Shaddoll fusions, or probably all of them, whenever this card leaves the field, you can add 1 Shaddoll spell trap card from your graveyard to your hand. And that does it for the fusions. Now, this deck is a bit questionable, but trust me, it does work. Also, don't forget to follow our Twitter and our soon-to-be Facebook page. Now, about the Twitter, it's fairly brand new, but do keep in mind I am going to be managing it a little bit more than Red X and Winter, so do expect a whole lot of random tweets and probably every week a new waifu that may be disturbing to some viewers, possibly, or maybe just because of all the blood and guts and so on, just a little bit. Anyway, Facebook, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and of course like, subscribe, send us awesome comments, leave us awesome comments. Do keep them entertaining so I can always follow back and add a little bit of randomness, maybe even make them a bit disturbing or creepy. It's always fun to do that. Anyway, have a good night.